Before China was an empire, it was a slaughterhouse. For 2.5 centuries, the land was fractured into 7 independent states, locked in a continuous, grinding conflict known as the Warring States period. Trust was a liability, and diplomacy usually ended in bloodshed. Out of this meat grinder emerged Ying Zheng, who inherited the throne of the western state of Qin at just 13 years old. He grew up surviving internal court rebellions and his mother's political betrayals. He even survived a point-blank assassination attempt by a man posing as a diplomat who lunged at him with a poisoned dagger hidden inside a map. Ying Zheng learned quickly that showing mercy invited death. When his army captured 10,000 soldiers from the rival state of Zhao, he faced a logistical problem. Keeping them alive would slow his campaign, and letting them go meant fighting them again. He solved it by executing all 10,000 prisoners. Look at this map. You can see how fast the Qin military machine swallowed the continent. Within a few short years, Ying Zheng's massive, highly disciplined armies steamrolled across the borders of Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and finally Qi. By 221 BC, the 6 rival kingdoms were erased. Surviving decades of betrayal and near-miss assassinations taught him a singular lesson. He believed human beings were inherently evil, and a civilized society could only be maintained through the application of absolute, inescapable terror. With the continent unified in 221 BC, Ying Zheng declared that the old title of king was no longer sufficient for his achievements. He invented an entirely new title for himself, Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor. He immediately clamped down on his new subjects. These bronze coins represent his aggressive push to standardize daily life. He forced the diverse populations of the conquered states to use a single currency, a single written language, and uniform weights and measures. Maintaining a local currency or a different measuring scale became an act of treason. To enforce this strict centralization, the emperor adopted the philosophy of legalism and ordered the destruction of any dissenting ideas. He launched mass book burnings to wipe out the histories of the conquered states. When hundreds of scholars openly defied his new intellectual restrictions, he had 460 of them buried alive in a mass grave. His physical control over the population was just as severe. He conscripted over 1 million enslaved laborers and sent them to the northern frontier to link earlier defensive fortifications into a single, massive barrier, the first Great Wall of China. Hundreds of thousands of workers died of starvation, exposure, and exhaustion in the mountains, their bodies often thrown directly into the packed earth. By middle age, he had entirely subjugated the living world, but his brutal tactics created a massive psychological burden. By slaughtering hundreds of thousands to build his empire, he realized he had filled the afterlife with a vast horde of vengeful ghosts. The emperor had defeated every army on Earth. Now, his obsession shifted to the only enemy he had left, his own mortality. To protect himself from the spirits of those he killed, he ordered the construction of a city-sized underground necropolis. Standing guard over his tomb were more than 8,000 life-size terracotta soldiers, arranged in strict military formation. Notice the faces on these statues. No 2 of them are exactly alike. The imperial craftsmen mass-produced the bodies using molds, but they sculpted unique facial features, hairstyles, and armor details for every single warrior. They were armed with real, state-of-the-art bronze weapons, ready to fight in the spirit world. This schematic shows what archaeologists believe lies at the untouched center of the burial mound. According to ancient records, the craftsman built a miniature replica of his empire. The ceiling was studded with jewels to represent the cosmos, while the floor featured a mechanical system that pumped rivers and oceans of liquid mercury, mimicking the waterways of China. He drafted 700,000 workers to build this complex over 38 years. He essentially deployed the entire economic output and labor force of his newly forged nation to mount a full-scale military invasion of the afterlife. But defense wasn't enough. The emperor went on the offensive against death itself. Believing in legends of magical islands where immortals lived, he dispatched fleets of ships carrying thousands of young boys and girls across the Pacific Ocean to find the elusive elixir of life. The fleets never returned. Desperate, he turned to his court alchemists. They presented him with a substance they believed possessed supernatural, eternal properties. The emperor began regularly ingesting pills and potions laced with liquid mercury. Liquid mercury is highly toxic. Over the next few years, the heavy metal bioaccumulated in his system, aggressively destroying his kidneys and attacking his nervous system. His sanity began to fracture. Plagued by hallucinations and paranoia, he convinced himself that he was a divine sea god. During his final provincial tour, he stalked the coastline with a giant crossbow, firing at whales and large fish, believing they were monstrous blockades sent by the heavens to keep him from his immortality. He spent the last years of his life desperately trying to extend it. The tragic irony is that the heavy metal he consumed to defeat death was the exact poison that accelerated his demise. In 10 BC, at the age of 50, Qin Shi Huangdi's body finally gave out. He died while on a journey far from the capital. His chief minister, Li Si, knew that if the public found out the tyrant was dead, the empire would instantly fracture. Li Si decided to keep the death a total secret. The imperial convoy faced a massive problem. The emperor's corpse was rapidly decaying in the intense summer heat. To mask the overwhelming stench of rotting flesh, Li Si ordered carts loaded with dead, decomposing fish to be positioned in front and behind the royal carriage for the long journey back to the capital. Li Si used the delay to orchestrate a coup. He forged a document containing the emperor's dying wishes, ordering the highly capable crown prince, Fu Su, to commit suicide. With the rightful heir out of the way, Li Si installed the emperor's younger, highly incompetent son as a puppet ruler. The new government collapsed almost immediately. Oppressed peasants and remnants of the conquered states rose up in a massive rebellion. Within just 4 years, the Qin dynasty was entirely wiped out. Rioters broke into the burial pits, setting fires and smashing the terracotta army into pieces. Qin Shi Huangdi's quest to live forever ended with his rotting corpse hidden behind a cart of fish, and his dynasty crushed in its infancy. Yet his ruthless standardization bound 7 warring states together into a single cohesive entity. The very name of his state, Qin, became the root of the word China. He failed to cheat death, but by forging an empire that would endure for millennia, he achieved immortality anyway.